Best advice you've received in real estate.
The best advice, I think I got it from Don, who's my team lead, Don McKenna of the Don McKenna Group, and then also my dad. Um, in the beginning, I feel like of this career, you can get really sensitive and caught up when someone in your sphere doesn't work with you as a broker and they, use somebody else for whatever reason, but you just get a knot in your stomach and it's a bad feeling. It feels like you got broken up with kind of. Um, and I used to really dwell on that. I mean, it hasn't happened a ton, but it's happened a couple of times where I'm like, "What the heck? They know I'm in real estate. I've known them for a long time," or whatever it is. And Dawn, it's really simple, but she was like, "You just can't waste your time thinking about that anymore because that business is gone. Maybe you can recoup it down the line, but just on to the next one, on to the next person that wants to work with you and that appreciates you." And then similarly, when I would complain about it to my dad, he is a self-proclaimed insurance Hall of Famer in sales. So I like to think Don's a huge role model of mine. My dad is, both sales geniuses, and he just reminded me. He's like, there's a plethora of reasons that people have, and you have no idea, and you don't need to waste your time like dwelling on it and thinking about why didn't they work with me. Like focus on what you do have, not on what you don't.
Right.
And you don't know. Some people just don't like to work with their friends with financial purchases and things like that. I can respect that. I get it. So I think every broker has been through that. Like someone
Hun-
that they think should have worked with them and unfortunately decided to go a different direction.
Absolutely. It reminds me of the serenity prayer, like, accept the things you cannot change, right? And first of all, everybody knows a realtor, right? So and everyone's got one in their extended family too, right? So even
Yeah.
if it's, your best friend, sometimes it doesn't always, you always get chosen. But it was funny. I was thinking about this from a traffic perspective. This is very similar to the advice that you got from your dad and from Don, which was I was driving home recently and I have a very short commute, so I don't really have any room to complain. But I was complaining in my mind. I was stuck in traffic, and I was like, "Come on!" And I was getting really frustrated. And I realized I am making myself miserable, and there's
Yeah.
literally nothing I can do about this. Like, I have no control over this, and I can choose to be frustrated and unhappy for the next 10 minutes, or I could choose something else. And I was like, what could I do right now that would actually make me happy? And I thought, oh, I could call my parents. I could call a friend. I could call my fiance. I could, listen to a song or a
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
And I literally realized in that moment, like, oh, you get to choose. And so it's kind of like that. Like, so something doesn't go our way. And yeah, we pout about it for a moment. And then it's like, now we get to choose. And I
Yeah.
think getting getting to choose is always something that it's easy to forget. It's like it's more fun to complain, but it's actually much better just choose something else to focus on. And I sat there in traffic and I was like, oh, now all of a sudden I'm happy. Like I'm actually happy. I was literally pounding the steering wheel a moment before, and now I'm like happy. I go, that is so. The brain is a really funny thing. Like it can literally change in a moment just by changing focus. Okay,
Yeah, it is
that
applicable to other things. It just I guess the moral of the story is for the real estate version of it, like, you just can't take it personally, and it's probably
absolutely
you didn't do most of the time, you didn't do anything wrong.
right.
So, just move on.
Yeah.
On
Okay. That's best advice. Worst advice.
I was trying to think about this, and I don't know if there's, like, explicit horrible advice that I've gotten from an agent or somebody in the industry, but I've seen things I don't wanna replicate, I guess would be a nice way of putting it. When I thought about I'll back up a little bit. When I started in the industry, my mom was kinda like, "You're getting into real estate? You're gonna be a realtor? You went to college, you played a Division I sport, you were a teacher, you're gonna be in real estate where you literally just need your GED? I don't even know if you need that, I don't know." I was like, "All right, mom. Yes, I am." And because at least from her life, like realtors were kind of the bored housewife
Sure.
and didn't really have to work, maybe sold a house or two a year and were maybe like the nosy neighbors and wanted to get in the business. People were getting divorced or whatever. So like she had a really bad taste in her mouth about realtors because of the couple that she had been around just where we grew up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mom, it's way there are way it's way more professional than you think it is. Yes, of course, those people exist, and we as realtors do have to, the good ones have to combat that every day because most of the time people have met realtors like my mom was judging. But I would say it's also, so it's the ones that don't take it very seriously and have it as their side hustle. So actually, I have gotten bad advice when people say, oh, like, you don't make money in the beginning. So if you want to do it on the side, if you want to do real estate on the side, that's what you should do to be comfortable. I get that. Not everybody's in a position where they can go without income for, a long period of time. But if you can, like, doing it part-time isn't going to get you nowhere. People won't take you seriously. They're going to know that it's not your full-time gig. It's going to be very obvious. And this is actually an impossible career to do part-time if you do it right, because you have to be on your client's schedule. You work way more at the end of the day than your 9 to 5 friend that goes to an office, but your schedule is sporadic. So maybe you're grocery shopping at 10 a.m. or get to do Pilates at 12, but on Saturday and Sunday, you're working all day. So I think that actually might have been the worst advice. Someone did tell me in the beginning, just do it part time for a little bit, dip your toes in, and then you could see if it's for you. Like, I don't know. I don't want to bash anybody that wants to do that, but I just don't think, I don't, yeah, I don't think that's the right approach. I think you just got to commit fully, at least give yourself a couple of years. And after a couple of years, if it's not for you, then maybe get out of it. But it takes a lot of time. Yeah.
Agreed.
Actually, that was the worst advice I've gotten.
Bari Mill is born and bred. She is our guest today. She is a true Chicagoan with a deep passion for her hometown and its many diverse neighborhoods. She is in her 6th year here in real estate and was with the Don McKenna Group with Coldwell Banker Realty. She has built a reputation for exceptional service and is on track this year to close out over $40 million, which is unreal for somebody in their 6th year. Originally from Chicago's northwest suburbs and now a Lincoln Park resident for the past 6 years. She offers a nuanced understanding of the city and a genuine commitment to helping clients find the right home. Before joining the Don McKenna Group, she served as a Teach for America Corps member in the Southeast Los Angeles, and holds a degree in strategic brand management from Southern Methodist University, where she was a Division I soccer player and a 4-time All-American honoree. Upon joining the Don McKenna Group in 2019, she served as chief of staff to Don McKenna, gaining invaluable insight and experience from one of the nation's top real estate agents. If you don't know Don McKenna, Google her. She is a very big deal here in Illinois and Florida and in all the other markets she serves. She's incredible, and Bari now works full time in sales. Outside of work, she enjoys exploring Chicago's restaurant scene, planning her next getaway, and strolling through Lincoln Park with her husband and their munchkin Bernedoodle Snoopy. Welcome, Bari.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, DJ. I'm
I'm
excited.
excited to chat with you. So,
Me too.
fun fact: Bari and I just did a transaction together. It was
Oh,
actually, I think, I think this might be true. It might have technically been my very first transaction. And the only reason I don't know that is because my boss has usually helped me when I have bought and sold things, even
got
though I
it.
have a license. So Barry was on the other side of a transaction, and she was so much fun to work with. And she was so professional and so on, just such a great agent. I said, I have to have you on my show. And I very rarely have local people on. So I am so excited. By the way, follow Barry at her Instagram, which is Bari Ray Mill, RAEMILL. We will have a link to that in the show notes. You can follow her on Instagram. Barry, let's we finally get to talk. We didn't actually get to talk in person until just now.
No, no, and I echo the same. You were great to work with, and in such a busy market, like, you just made things easy, which is what we're all trying to do for each other, just made it easy. No
I
drama.
don't it was
Drama.
such a crazy time for me. I hope I was like, "I truly don't know what I'm doing. Please help me." Like, I don't know if I communicated that effectively, but I was like, "If she expects me to know a lot of these things, she is gonna be sorely upset with me." So,
No, I knew
hopefully
no offense, this wasn't your full-time gig.
it is not, no.
The selling of
But
yours.
I had a lot of great people in my corner helping me, and
Yeah.
thank goodness for friends. It's really great that I get to work with somebody like yourself. But hopefully, I hopefully treated you with some level of respect. I hope.
Oh, you absolutely
I was
did.
so grateful for
You're not
you,
very
and it really reminded me, or rather, really taught me exactly why agents get paid what they do. because it's so easy just to think about 2.5% times the price of a property and thinking, oh my God, that's so much money. And then realizing that I was stuck at like I was going into chat GPT. I was asking it like, what should I do in this scenario? Like I literally didn't have enough experience to know what to do in certain situations. And thank goodness for people like yourself and people who were, had other experience that were able to give me like a guidance on this. And I was like, oh, that's why they get paid the big bucks. I was like, this makes perfect sense. It made me really, really respect realtors even more than I already do. And of course I do. I work in this industry, but boy, I'm like, oh, they actually earn every penny. And you were great too, because you were somebody, and I want our listeners to really appreciate this. Barry and I did, we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
And it's funny enough, we actually live pretty close to each other, but we didn't know each other. And she was so on top of things and so sweet and so nice, and so much of what you think about when you think about a cooperative commission. Like you were nothing but cooperative. You were sweet. I mean, I hope I was as well, but
You
it's like it is really nice. Like I almost feel like we're friends now, even though we were technically on the other side of the aisle. But it was like, oh no, it was fun working with you. You were fun, you were cool, and you were honest and ethical. And I just really appreciate that. And you took it seriously. And there were times, in fact, you were out to dinner one night and I was messaging you, and I, of course, would never want to interrupt somebody's dinner. And I was like, hey, I don't remember what it was, but I said, oh, this or that. And you were like, hey, I'm in the middle of dinner. Like, give me a few minutes. I'll get back to you. And I was like, oh, no, don't worry about it. You're like, no, I got it. And I really appreciated that level of like just sort of on top of like this is the Dawn McKenna way, right? She's always on top of things. You're on top of things, and I always take that for granted. I think people do take that for granted for a lot of for realtors. We just assume they all of them work that hard, and they don't. And
yeah.
somebody like yourself, it was really like a pleasure. I was like, oh gosh, if it had been another agent who maybe didn't have your experience, didn't have your skill, it would have made the transaction a lot more difficult. So I know how great you are because I got to work with you, and that was really cool.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that, and I think it's one of the easiest things to set you apart because this job, it's not rocket science, it's not impossible, but something that other realtors and your clients will always notice is your speed and communication. It doesn't take that much, like you said. And granted, I get it. Some people are better about putting their phone away when they're with others, but it's just when you're in the middle of a deal, or because I think we were negotiating, like it's just part of the game. And you don't need to go step away and take a call. I very rarely do that when I'm with other people. But just like you said, just quickly, hey, I'll get back to you. Okay, got it. Like just quick responses. It's easy to do. It's really easy.
And
And
also
it's
just playing nice in the sandbox. Like playing
yeah,
nice in the sandbox has gotten me a lot in life. Just being a agreeable person, a nice person. You are a nice person, and I really can't say I can't sing your praises enough because I really was so impressed. I wish you were at our firm. You aren't, and you won't be, and that's okay. But I really so impressed, and I'm so excited to have you on the show. Let's talk about your transition. So you're an athlete, you're a jock.
yes.
And let's talk about what that sort of looked like in college, because I love college athletes. I mean, Division 1, amazing. But specifically what I love so much about that is you basically have two jobs in college now.
Yeah.
You have to do twice as much as everybody else, and perform really highly levels for both of those at SMU. Talk about sort of the discipline associated with that. I mean, did, as is well, tell us about tell us about
Yeah.
being a soccer player and how that has impacted you today.
I think it started when I was young, and for most athletes that make it to the Division 1 level, usually they start pretty young as well. And I think from the very beginning, you kind of just get FOMO for me like doesn't exist because the amount of things when you're committed to a sport and wanting to play at a higher level that you have to miss socially,
Yeah.
that stings when you're younger, and even in college it stings when you're like an adult. But I think that that has really helped me throughout my life. Like I know my priorities. I had to really like work on time management from a young age to fit in the homework, to fit in soccer practice, to fit in the traveling to different states for practice for tournaments and things like that. Like you have to be very on it with your time management to also do well in school. And you're going to miss a bunch of social things. And I think that's actually a really good thing. And then I think that translates into no matter what profession you take on, because you are not, you're more focused and you're not wrapped up in the wrong things or missing this or missing that or that. Like you're just laser focused. And honestly, I find myself when I'm not super busy, I'm like less efficient, I'm less productive.
Yeah.
And when I am really busy, like transitioning from actually into this career, because from college to then teaching to then real estate is the most flexible of those three, right? Because in college, you have your classes, you have your practice, you have
Yep.
this. And then in real estate, it's like, oh gosh, what do I do with my day? When you build a nice book of business, your clients mandate what you do. But there's a lot of time. You kind of get a lot of time on your hands. And that was actually hard for me in the beginning because I was used to people telling me
Yeah.
what time to do things. But I think because I loved the structure that sports brought me, I was able to do that for myself, like in not as stringent of a manner. But so I think, yeah, the time management was really helpful. And just the natural discipline that you get from being on a team and working at a higher level. I always really liked soccer. I'll be honest, I never loved the sport. I never watch it anymore. I never play it anymore. It was more of like the competition, the staying fit, and the people that I met through
Yeah.
sports. They're my best friends. Like three, or actually, I think half of my bridesmaids, I got married 3 years ago, were soccer, like people that I played soccer with either growing up or in college, because they're salt of the earth. We've been through hard things together. We've picked each other up. You're just in it together. And that's why I knew in real estate, it can be a solo sport. And I'm not a solo sport girl at all. So I'm on a team. A bunch of the other people on our team were actually athletes, whether it was in college or, playing competitively growing up. And I think you always hear like, oh, realtors are sharks. And, it's so they're not team players. Not on our team. And that's, I think, why I love it. And it reminds me of when I played soccer, because we're all in it together. I do deals. I split deals with my team members because I'd rather get less commission and do it with them.
Yeah.
It's better to work together. I don't know. So if that answered your question, I kind of went all over the place.
It answered it in a lot of different ways, and what I heard is a lot of structure, right? So, like for you, you grew up with a lot of structure around the discipline for performing in soccer and athletics, and then of course in college, having that structure and discipline as well. And also, the one thing that I imagine was probably most helpful for you from the time you were little till even now is the willingness to be uncomfortable, the willingness to sort of sacrifice, as you said. You
Yeah.
didn't get to go to all the cool events when you were younger, and that's a bummer. And you got other experiences that have helped you get to $40 million in 6 years in real estate. And it's pretty incredible by willing to be sort of uh, get dirty and be uncomfortable, and soccer is one of those sports where you're running nonstop, right? Like it's constant workout, and you have to be at the highest level of physical fitness, and you have to be competitive, and you have to outmaneuver and all of that. It's an incredibly challenging environment, and it really is. It's never comfortable, I'm sure. So I imagine being comfortable in discomfort is probably one of your superpowers.
Yeah. No, that's very accurate. Totally accurate.
Yeah, I was thinking about this recently. Like, I was thinking that we've made our lives so comfortable with technology and different, we live in this amazing country with all sorts of amenities, and we're very, very fortunate. And I think it's probably a little too comfortable. And putting obstacles in our path is probably a good idea. Like, I know when I go to the gym, I have to, like, every time I go to the gym, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Every single time, if you do it right. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, you have to be willing to put yourself in discomfort, because that's where you temper your sort of yourself. You're able to sort of endure. You're like, oh, and you know this because you're an athlete. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is being coachable. And this is maybe the most important thing. There's discipline, which you have, structure, and then being coachable. Like, how critical is it? Like, you didn't come into this assuming that you could just learn it all yourself. I imagine you've been with Dawn for a while, and others probably. What's the is it how important is coaching for you?
I think it's really important, and I think people need to put their ego aside because I think a lot of people come into real estate from other walks of life and other careers, and it's usually not their first career. And so you feel like, you're entitled to know a lot of it. You should know a lot of it, but it's so different than whatever you were doing before. Even if you were in sales before, it's different. You have something new to learn. So I think just putting your ego aside and learning from people that you respect and want to emulate is super important. I came in and I was still pretty young. So even though I still don't like to think I have an ego and I'm 30 now, I was, what is that, 24, 23, something like that when I got into real estate. So I knew nothing about real estate aside from the fact that it was really cool that you could sell pretty homes and make money. So I knew I needed a mentor. And said earlier, I love being on a team. So I didn't just want to join one other broker and just be with one other. It's fun to be with a plethora, a bunch of people that you can learn from because everyone has a different style. So what was really cool about being on my team is we have a rock star, Annie Lenski in Lake Forest. She's been in the industry for like, I don't know, maybe 20 years, 15 years. Her mom was in it before her, still is. She owns Lake Forest in the real estate market. She has a very different style than Dawn. They're both incredible agents and had great success, but I was able to learn from two different styles. And this is maybe how Annie would do things. This is how Dawn does things. Lauren Walls does things this way. And I will, like, depending on the situation, I'll pick up the phone and call one of them or maybe two of them and get their advice and be like, ooh, okay, I like what Lauren said about this, I like what Annie said about this. So I love to be coached. And I like to, now I feel like I'm at a point where with some of the younger team members, I like to coach a little bit now because I have some experience under my belt. But I welcome being coached. I love it. I'm not someone that thinks I know it all because I definitely don't. So
Let's talk about how you get business, right? Because obviously you're in your sixth year, things are starting to pick up in a very significant way, more than most agents at your level or at your tenure. So let's
sure.
talk about, what do you think you did differently than other agents to help accelerate your business?
Yeah. Well, I think that the 2.5 years that I took being Dawn's assistant, her fancy version of it was chief of staff, was incredibly helpful because it allowed me to be on a salary, learn from the best, and also start to build my book of business where I wasn't feeling a ton of pressure. Because that was like extra income, like people that wanted to work with me in the city while I was still like full-time working for Dawn and helping her clients and helping her business and being on her emails. I had a burner phone. I had a second phone of hers where I was replying to clients, taking her buyers out. Like, she was my focus, but it was really cool that she also let me start to build my business because it wasn't an overwhelming amount, like I mean, I think in my second year I had done like, I think it was like 10 million of my own while also working for Dawn. That's still a
Wow.
good volume, but like I was able to manage it. And I think that goes back to soccer, right? Like I was able to manage heading out to Hinsdale to help Dawn every day and also my book of business in the city because it was so exciting and invigorating to me. And I knew long term I wanted to be full-time sales. So it was worth the hustle to be learning from the best and also starting to grow my book. And again, I keep going back to the team thing. I had team members that were full time in the city that would help me with those clients because I couldn't service them alone or that I'd be doing them a disservice. They lived in the city, they were full time, they helped me. So we're just total collaborators. But I think that was part of it. I was able to like build a book a little more stress free, I guess is the best way to put it, without a ton of pressure. And my book of business honestly was mostly, I'm from Chicago, so I think that does give you a leg up. I'm fourth generation Chicagoan. My dad's whole family's from the North Shore, so that was helpful. A lot of them live in the city and the North Shore. They were great at giving me referrals, so my family was integral. My husband, honestly, if he ever listens to this, he'll love that I'll give him a shout out because he always likes to say whenever someone from his sphere like works with me, he's like, that goes on my tree, that goes on my tree. But he has given me a ton of business. He is an awesome network that I've tapped into, and they're really our good friends. But he was investment banker at Goldman Sachs for years. And those guys, I'm telling you, find a niche. And that was my niche, was finance, because it made sense. My husband was in finance and he had a great circle of friends and they make a lot of money at a young age. And I was helping them with rentals, high-end rentals. And then after a couple of years, they were ready to buy. So that I really do, I have to say, I think that really started because then that spiraled. I did a really good job for them. Investment bankers, like you were saying earlier, really appreciate quick responses.
Yeah.
One of my clients literally said, you're an investment banking level realtor, meaning like they will get harped if they don't reply to an email in like 2 minutes. Like
Yeah.
24 get back to you in 24 hours, like that is not a thing in that world. And I was married or I guess dating that, now married to that kind of same thinking. So I did the same and I naturally am like that, but he kind of reinforced that. And those clients really appreciate it because they don't have time. They work crazy hours. They work till 2 in the morning. So it was actually also really good because they buy real estate very quickly because they don't have time to be like, oh, let's see 7,000 places, put in 5 million offers and get a deal. Like, no, they make good money. They want a nice place and they want you to cut the fat for them. They don't have a bunch of time to sift through Redfin and MLS and all of that. So I think finding my niche in that finance world and then just the rest of my sphere was super helpful. So it was very, very referral based. And then I'm lucky enough to have proven myself to Don and other team members. So I get a lot of referrals through our team too, from Don and other team members and other, like in our Naples office and our New Buffalo office. So that also I benefit from that as
Yeah,
well.
you earned it, right? You earned your spot, and I think that's you've earned everything that you've achieved in life, like really. And I think through just sheer force, right? So discipline and consistency. Walk us through a normal day for you. And again, days are different, I know, but what would a normal sort of structured day? Because you're doing a ton of production. So tell me what does your day look like?
Yeah, I'll try to channel like my spring day because I feel like right now my mind's on December and it's quiet in a great way. And I love the quietness because most of my deals are under contract and almost closing or they've already closed. So it is definitely quiet right now. So my days are pretty awesome currently. But like, let's say a normal, like busier spring day. Um, I will be totally honest with you. I like to sleep in. I'm not one of the 5 a.m. club, like let me get my whole life in before 9 a.m. No, that doesn't work for me. I would actually lead a horrible day if I woke up that early. So I probably sleep till like 7, sometimes get out of bed 7:30. Um, try to go to Equinox and work out. My workouts aren't crazy. People would think like athletes, you go ham with your workouts. I like to walk on incline for like an hour now. And actually, I love to get calls done. I love doing calls on the treadmill with my AirPods in, and it goes so much faster and you're getting a workout in. But if you're, running or lifting, you can't like also get calls done. So I like to multitask in that way, but I enjoy it. Or, I'll also call my mom or brother or catch up with family, but something productive while I'm on the treadmill. Or I'll listen. I do like to listen to podcasts. So whether they're like, just your local news or whatever, just so you're in the know and you can bring up cool, interesting things that aren't just real estate. Like our clients like to know that you're a well-versed, smart human. So try to read a Wall Street Journal article or listen to a Wall Street Journal article or listen to the Journal. I really like that one because it's quick. I feel like it's like 10 minutes every morning. And then the Daily is a good one with New York Times. So podcasts, call people, get calls done while walking on the treadmill. Emails, I do emails, text on the treadmill. Um, Also, I have a 1-year-old puppy, so take him out, play with him, whatever. So I would say the bulk of my day, I rarely set appointments before like 10 or 11, honestly. I'll do it. I have no problem with it, but I have a little bit of a slower start. And then likely a handful of showings. Not many days go by without showings. So I would say let's just say 11 to 1 or 2 of showings. And then typically they're at that point on your phone when you are out showing, you have a ton of texts and emails to get back to. I do have a transaction coordinator who helps me a lot. So she'll write the offers for me. She'll help me just get everything organized, the earnest money, all of the contract stuff. But I haven't completely relinquished control. So I definitely still will go through all of that. So I would say after showings, you're at 1 o'clock, just kind of catch up on your phone and on your computer. Um, and then that kind of brings you to the rest of the day. And it's just so sporadic. I take phone calls whenever they come in. I'll book phone calls. Maybe there's a buyer appointment, prepping for a listing appointment. I'm a huge preparer. I don't really like to fly by the seat of my pants. So if I have a listing appointment the next day, I'm at least prepping for a couple of hours, knowing all the comps perfectly, getting the package together, doing research on the sellers and everything. So just preparing for whatever's coming up. I don't like to do things the day of. It makes me nervous. I'll be sweating. Like I need to be prepared or it yeah. Something I would like to work on. Yeah, that's kind of that's kind of it. But as you know, it just changes every day. I try to go with the flow as much as possible because it's just evolving.
So one thing I didn't hear, and because you just gave a great example of a really busy and productive day. One thing I didn't hear, and I'm curious to ask about this, is sort of outbound, uh, sort of business seeking, right? So like trying to generate new business. Now, are you at a point in your career where it's all referral based, or are you also out there trying to find deals on your own?
I would say a little bit of both, and I think the season really matters for this. So if it was in the spring, I'm not super caught up in trying to get new business because I'm just trying to stay above water with my current business.
Right.
But right now, this time of year is when, yes, I'm business planning. I'm planning the events that I'm going to do for the next year. I do love events. So I would say events is probably my number one way of like I guess it's not really like outreach to new clients, but I always encourage clients to bring their friends. I think that's a really good way to get new clients is like I'd love to do a Galentine's Day event every year, so I'm starting to think about that. And will invite a client and then also say, feel free to bring your sister or your friend or cousin, whoever you want. Like this invitation's open. I think people need to remember that. Like that's the best way to meet people is through others. And of course, your sphere like is very important to invite in people that are already working with you. But I think that's kind of a cool, creative way to meet their sphere and then grow your sphere like naturally instead of just straight up asking, for like don't forget, I would love your referrals. Like I've never said that in my life. It makes me
Yeah.
cringe. I think
Yeah.
I
Me
get
too.
why people do it. It's a good reminder, but I think that's kind of like the softer way to be like, oh, I'm hosting this event. I'm obviously doing it because I'm in real estate
Right.
and you're a client of mine. Bring a friend. Would love for you to bring a friend or a family member or whatever. So I do really love events. I don't do a ton of them because also we have open houses and stuff like that and events related to our listings. But outside of that, I want to say I try to do an event quarterly.
How important are open houses for you?
I would say it depends on the I guess it depends on the price point, but kind of going back or I don't know if I talked about this, but to me, focusing on your niche is really important, and in real estate, that would be, like, the market that you wanna keep growing in. So
Right.
if I have a listing, like, in a market that I'm not necessarily trying to grow a ton of business in, but maybe one of my other team members is or is newer, then maybe I'll ask them to do that open house. Because
Sure.
again, I mean, it's probably I know every realtor has heard about this, but, like, the main point is to get more business and
Sure.
obviously satiate your seller. Like, open houses don't typically sell the house,
Right.
but sometimes it actually does.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also for you to continue to grow your business. So I would say I was better about it in the beginning of my career. And then honestly, just with how the market's been going, things go so quickly that I feel like the amount of open houses I maybe did like 20 last year, where it used to be, oh my God, most realtors are probably doing like 50 plus. And it is a really good way to get more business. So if it's in Lincoln Park in that price point I'm really trying to go for, I'm absolutely making every effort to be the one that's there Saturday and Sunday, have the sign-in sheet, have really nice collateral out. Like our marketing team just finished a really nice like bespoke buyer's book that people have been loving because usually people coming to open houses are just starting in their search,
Sure.
typically. Not always. And that is super helpful. It has your name on it, it has your beautiful marketing, and it's super organized. And it's not an overwhelming amount of information, but it just walks through everything that you're going to need to know throughout the real estate process. And I've gotten a handful of clients through open houses. And so, yes, I think they are very important, but I tend at this point of where I'm at in my career, I tend to really try to only do the ones where like I'm really trying to grow my business.
Yeah. What I want to know what's hard for you. So this is great because I love talking to athletes because you are always aware of, improving. So what in your business isn't perfect right now? What would you say? Just so
Uh,
that we know you're not a superhero.
no,
Everyone's got challenges. What's your biggest challenge?
CRM, CRM, easy.
Tell me about it.
Oh gosh. Well, I have a really sloppy one, I'll be honest with you. Like, I haven't updated in months, and it's something that's been on my to-do list with, like, you are like, my husband reminds me, "You're literally not a professional if you don't have CRM. Like, this is a fake business, like, you're just getting lucky." Like, he literally tells me that. He's been telling me that for years, and he's like, "You are missing out on so much business," and he's right. I mean,
Yes.
it's just one of those things that is not that hard, and if I just set an alarm or a timer to, like, input clients for 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, something, it's not that hard. So, yeah, I might say I'm super disciplined. I'm not disciplined with that, and that is not hard to do. And I know that
Is
well,
that
and
something that you're committed to sort of figuring out in the
this
future?
year this year, I'm doing it
This is the year. Yeah.
this
I
is this
I
is the
pick
year.
something every year for my business, my personal life. I pick, something that I'm going to give myself a year to solve this problem, right? And I love
You know,
that
that's fair
you're
too, I like that. Yeah, a year.
yeah, give yourself a year, and it's worked really well for me, but I do like the idea of you knew exactly what it was that you were not good at and you owned it. You didn't make apologies for it, but you're also like, okay, I'm not doing this thing that I should be doing. Totally normal. Like, you can't be good at everything. And you're also not letting yourself off the hook, but you're also not beating yourself up. You're just kind of
Yeah,
like, okay, I'm not doing this thing right now. I'm going to figure it out. And I think that's such a great mentality to have because we all we all have at any point in our business there's always something that's falling through the cracks, every human being on the planet. So I
yeah,
love that you know what that is and that you're working on it, and I love that. So let's talk about uh, I want to hear a little bit more about sort of how you think about working with clients. Like, what do you think, what is your actually, let me give you a different question.
okay.
When it's a really hard day, what pulls you through?
It's a
What is your
really
why?
that's a good question. What pulls me through? You know, I'll bring it back to when I was a teacher. You have a set salary every year, right? You have maybe a certain amount of bonus you can get every year. That is what I'm not going to shy away from it. That's part of the reason I got into real estate is there's not a ceiling.
Yeah.
Like there isn't. It's crazy how much money we can make, and like yeah, you're going to lose a deal. You're going to have a hard day, but that's part of it, and I like the competition of it, and I like that there's no ceiling. So some days, of course, if I'm having a hard day, I'm like, "Why am I doing this? I have the credentials to be at a job where I still would probably make a nice salary and go home at 6 o'clock and you take the weekend off and turn my phone off." Of course, that goes through my head sometimes, but I think just the competitiveness and internal, like, grit comes out. I'm like, but that actually sounds really boring to me. Like at the end of the day, that would get old, like being on a hamster wheel, really quickly. So I think I just remind myself that today sucks. Go get a McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and French fries, and watch like horrible TV, and tomorrow's going to be better. And just remember that you're lucky that the harder you work, the more money you can make and the more successful you can be, and you're doing a good thing for people too. This is like one of the most important decisions, and I think that's the other thing. Like even really good, awesome, even keeled people can get crazy when it comes to buying real estate. Like, and I don't blame them, but we deal with that all the time, right? So sometimes that's what will sometimes send me over the edge. And then you just have to remind yourself, like, they actually don't buy and sell real estate every day like you do. So
Right.
try to have some like empathy for them. Like this is a stressful situation, even if it shouldn't, even if you think in that moment they shouldn't be stressed about it or they shouldn't be whatever. Like this is like you were saying, like you don't do this all the time. Like this,
It was
it is
crazy
really
stressful.
stressful, but we can forget, as realtors that it is. So I think Donna told me one time, like, that's why she bought and sold like 20 houses growing up with her family because she would flip them. So like she was always reminded, this is hard. You know what I mean? Like this is hard to move and pack your life up, and especially when people have kids and this and that. So I think just reminding myself to give clients grace, or the other agent or whatever is stressing you out grace, and that I'm lucky to be in this business and have a stressful day.
I love that you just said you're lucky to be in this business. I think that in and of itself, that sense alone is really the most important kind of attitude to have. I think the willingness to feel lucky. I mean, and to be honest, we are lucky to even live in this country
Yes,
at this
yes,
time
that's
in
true.
history, right? So
Yeah.
I did this recently. I was like, I wonder, because I was born in 1976, and I thought, wonder what percentage of people born in 1976 were born to first world countries, not even just America, but just first world countries. It was like less than 15%. So like even that alone, I beat the odds, right? And
Yeah.
so if you
So
think about
true.
it, like, and I'm not saying that I had this horror, this easy or challenging sort of a life, but
Mhm.
certainly a lot easier than a lot of other people. And the
Yeah.
idea that of feeling lucky, choosing to feel lucky, really makes you appreciate just how valuable like time is, and how much you can work, and also, but also, give to yourself. I just think that the feeling lucky really does make life go by a lot more in a lot more of a enjoyable way. I think it just makes us,
Great.
and I don't think everyone always feels that way. So I appreciate you saying that, and I just wanted to sort of pinpoint that, because I truly believe the willingness to see life as lucky. Like even waking up is another. I got another day. Like
Walking on your
some
left,
people
yeah,
didn't,
being able to walk
right?
around. Yeah.
Yeah, and the data is really clear that if you wake up and you feel, what we would call like stacking positives. If you feel better, and you will do better. And so I think this is, you have that kind of energy where I feel like you wake up and you're just on the go. You know what you want to achieve. You're doing it, and you just kind of rinse and repeat. You're used to putting in the work on the field, and now here in business.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a lot of chop wood, carry water.
Yeah, and if you're stressed about how I took your question was, like, stressed about work that day, like, you probably lost a client or a deal's going
Yeah,
haywire or, uh, something with the work world and real estate world is going crazy, like, that's what I meant, like, you're lucky to be stressed because that means you have business or there's
yeah,
business to be had or you know what I mean? Because even if you lost business, you had the opportunity to have business.
right.
So, I don't know. Yeah.
But even that mindset of I'm lucky to have stress, like that's even a level further than what I was saying, because
Oh, yeah.
but well, no, it's so important what you just said. I'm lucky to be stressed, because if I'm stressed, it means I'm busy. If I'm busy, it means I'm working hard, right?
Yeah.
Like you are literally giving us such great advice. So I encourage everybody to adopt Barry's mindset here. This is she's been this way her whole life, because she's been on teams, she's been coached, she knows about sacrifice and discipline, and also being feeling fortunate, and giving. I think also too, being in a team sport. I think you were talking about this earlier. Sort of contribution, being able to collaborate with others and give to others. I think is also part of kind of who you are. But I think so important for us to feel sort of just good about ourselves, and really helps us through those challenging days when we consider like, oh, I'm lucky, I get to do this, I get to have these problems. These are good problems. They're still
Yeah.
problems, but they're good problems to have, and they're
Yeah.
good problems to solve. And there's always a way through a problem. There's always ways through. So I love your mindset, and it's no it's no accident that you have achieved the level of success you have, because of course you're just taking the same motor that got you to Division 1 soccer, and you're applying it to something else. It's really just the same thing. It's consistency, discipline, sacrifice, willingness to do the bloody hard stuff, and then you get results, because of course you do.
Yeah.
And it's
I would also
rinse and
add
repeat.
the more we're talking about it, like, everyone needs to have a little bit of humility. I think I talked about, like, not having an ego, like
Yes.
and I think I had that from the beginning because when I was 10 years old, I had a coach calling me names that are so canceled now. Like, the
Right.
amount of things that went down, like, when we were younger, oh my god, it's nuts because people weren't as sensitive. I think everyone needs to adopt the, like, "Don't be so sensitive." It's really easy to. I still will feel bad about things if someone says something that I'm not that but just brush it off, you know? I
Well,
think people
I
get
think
really caught up.
the easiest way to do that for oneself, and this is just a suggestion for anyone listening. I've been playing guitar my whole life, and I'm a fairly competent guitar player, mostly like rock and roll kind of stuff. And I said I want to learn classical guitar, which is a totally different thing. It is not in hardly related to playing rock and roll guitar with electric and acoustic. Classical is just a different beast. You even hold the guitar differently. You put it on a different leg. I mean, it's just a totally different experience. And what I will tell you is, it was so humbling. It's like learning a brand new instrument. And I'm doing this right now after 30 years of knowing what I'm doing on the guitar. I now literally, it's like fail, 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 fail. Maybe a little modicum of success. I hit two notes correctly. Okay, fail, fail, fail. It's just constant failure, and what that does is it's so humbling. It's so great. It's so grounding. It's like, oh, you have a lot to learn, and that's good for me. It's good to be humbled, just as you were saying. Uh,
Yeah.
That's which is why I lift really super heavy weights in the gym. It's like it's always humbling. Like it's always like, oh no, I you think
Right
you're
when you're
strong?
feeling good
Try
about
this.
yourself, you try the next the next
Yeah.
weight. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how we grow. And so I really encourage everybody to have some resistance in your life, have some obstacles that are healthy, healthy obstacles that will enable you to, push that boulder up the hill that you don't want to do, but you should do, because by doing that, you're going to get stronger in whatever way that looks. And Barry, you're giving me just a lot of good reminders for me to stay on the path and continue on. So I appreciate that. On behalf of all of our audience, we thank Barry for her insight today, and her attitude in particular, her mindset, I think is just incredible, and it's infectious. And I imagine it's resonated a lot with our audience. So we appreciate you. On behalf of Barry and myself, we want to thank the audience for sticking around to the end of the show. You are the reason we continue to do this show. Please tell a friend. Think of one other agent that could benefit from hearing this great conversation that we just had. Send them a link over to our podcast, Keeping It Real. We appreciate it. We are everywhere podcasts are served. And also thanks to our sponsors. And we will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Barry.
Thank you. Thanks, TJ. Thanks everyone for listening.